Hello, I'm Chylli from Channel Chylli, also known as Try, back with another episode of Library of Ruina. When we left off last time, we did the first few abnormalities of the floor psychology. Let's see. Outskirts. Oh yeah. There is interesting. Map testing question mark? What was I saying again? Oh, right. I was looking through the credenza, and there is story episodes which do not play when you complete the abnormalities, but they are there. Angela, we brought you the books. Thank you. If you would please, place the books over here. You are very precise in your instruction. Books that relate towards the behavior of people. It was quite troublesome to find what you want in technological sciences. Do you know why I requested these books? Roland briefed us about it. You wanted to understand the disease of the mind and how it takes form. Which is why we decided to come together. Yasad and I know quite a bit about the disease of the mind, same how we researched how to combat it firsthand. And the kid? It's just a coincidence. I got the books ready just as these two did, okay? The other floors are going to take quite some time. Unlike the much more factual focus of our floors, they have to gather up and organize a large volume of books that fit your description. Even languages? However, I did say something about how a language is used can give some insight as to how the people behave. We have time to discuss the topic at hand. You can start with what questions that are in your mind right now. Thank you for your time. Then let us begin. I understand somewhat about the disease of the mind and how the light was supposed to give enlightenment to the denizens of the city. But to strike at the problem, one must locate the source, and I haven't been able to find where this disease originated. The source, huh? Unfortunately, no matter how far back I dig into my lies, my memories as a researcher, or in the history of the books, we just don't know. There was no great event where everyone got infected, and the symptoms are now so obvious as for us to pinpoint the exact moment it happened. What is more likely is that the disease slowly creeped up on us, slowly infecting us and spreading silently. By the time we were made aware, the city had accepted it as the way of life. It was normal, the way it was supposed to be. To them, it was no disease, it was the new normal. It had been like that ever since they remembered it. It should be like that at present. Without the light to show them how much better things could be, people were content in the darkness they lived in. Roland? I mean, I know how the city folk think. They don't see any other way to survive in the city, so they do what they know works instead of something that might just work. And for a good reason, too. Those who try to do things differently to the rules of the city die pretty often. The math serves as a warning to stop the rest for even thinking of pursuing another option. Much like how I dismissed you guys over following some random girl preaching in the back streets before, the city would have called you fools and dismissed you. If it was just a few people who voiced their concerns, they would be dismissed by the majority. Much like the Church of Gears, they would be seen as a cult, maybe even having some fixers sent over to silence them if they step out of line. The light did not just work in terms of giving people great amounts of power, but also spreading of the light to many means they can band together instead of working in fear in small pockets. It was one of the many ways the spreading of the light would aid the people of the city, yes. I'm sure the plan had many facets to make it work that even I cannot fully comprehend. So there are parts even you are not aware of. Much like our role in the script, we couldn't know the plan in its entirety. We trusted him to be able to make the right decision and take the right approach so all of us can reach our dreams. You trusted him even in aspects that you didn't even know? Yep. Sometimes you gotta have faith in someone to do what you can't do. If you don't, your dreams may never come to fruition. The city itself proved that you cannot do things alone. You must gather like-minded individuals if you wish to stand a chance in this world. Cover each other's flaws, accentuate your strengths. With a common goal in mind, you can fly like the wings. I would take that you trusted him as well? Of course. If that were not the case, I would not have been in the research team in the first place. What about you, Tifras? I guess, in a way I did. My trust in him is an extension of my trust in Enoch. Enoch trusted Carmen in his research, and I trust Enoch's vision. It is from that indirect trust that is why I aided him during my time during lobotomy as a Sephira. Trust. You trust us, right? Well, hey. I'm kidding. After what you did back at the city, releasing the light, protecting it, and getting out both of your dreams, you have our trust. We were watching intently to see if you would make the right choice, Angela, and you did. Your actions have warranted us to trust you, at least for the present time. Another question. Was there any indication back in lobotomy as to signs that the light might have caused distortion to occur? Do you remember the ego we gave our librarians and the minimum requirements we placed on the agents to use them? I understand those to keep them from misusing the equipment, possibly to the detriment of the facility, but was there any evidence as to it being more than just being influenced by the abnormality? I think Gabura and Chized can give you a more detailed explanation. Why are you trying to understand something about their distortion? I want to understand more as to what allows a person to manifest their ego instead of becoming a distortion. Philip manifested his ego, yet turned into a distortion. Zhao would keep her ego until the end, and Yan distorted even without a hint of reaching his ego. The voice is a factor, as is their emotional stability when they're facing a moment of crisis, but I wish to look to see if there is more to it. I think it has something to do with what I read. Cognitive dissonance, was it? The light is enlightenment, and if it is accepted with control, it becomes ego. But the new information may not be accepted by the receiver, or if they reject it violently enough, or maybe even change too much from it. I think rejecting it totally would mean they don't manifest it at all. What about the voice? The voice only tempts. If it were the only factor, Zhao would not have been able to audibly reject it. Something within Zhao allowed her to reject that voice and come out stronger. There seems to be a specific threshold of emotional turmoil one must experience, and also overcome for ego to form. If they don't, back in lobotomy, they would become abnormalities. I would think in the case of distortions, they would distort instead. The light's enlightenment is quite a large information injection. If the person is not ready to accept this new information, the dissonance will cause too much for them. It is not easy to flip your perspective in life, having to look at every past action yet again, impulsively accepting that your old thoughts and actions were wrong. Some people would willingly reject what was given to them to keep their old lives. Change is tumultuous, the constant is peaceful. With the words from the Wedge office, Philip was able to accept that amount of change and manifest his ego. But once Oswald pushed too much into his mind, once that he can no longer be able to bear. Some would try and fail, their mind a mess, unable to claw their way out of the storm in their mind. I see. If they have a goal, something to keep them focused, like Zhao did, their tolerance would be much higher. This talk has been insightful, and has given me much to think about. Thank you for your time. If you find out something, be sure to let us know, okay? Deep in thought? The trust they had. Hey, you don't have to worry about it. I mean, don't worry about that. I'm just thinking about trust in general. Don't go paranoid on us, alright? We don't want you to go through cognitive dissonance and cause the library to go wild again. If you want to be of help, then help me sort these books. I don't even think you're using that term correctly. Alright, and then we have the second one. Hello, we come with books and some gifts. Gifts? Whose birthday are we celebrating? It's nothing special, just something to compliment the books we brought. Is this coffee? A special blend made just for dear director. You do realize that I cannot taste this with this body, right? There are many ways to appreciate coffee outside of drinking it, although drinking it nonetheless would make me a very happy man. We managed to go through our books and make a copy of those that relate to human behavior, but I suspect you want us to come up here to ask all some questions. I wish to understand more about the human mind, and getting perspective from others is important to this research. A tough undertaking. Even taking our previous lives into consideration, there are facets about ourselves that we still do not understand. Not to mention the books we're bringing up here are just copies of the originals that were released with the light. Are you sure this is enough? It may not be, but it is a pursuit I wish to undertake nonetheless. I see. I can see the same fire in your eyes that Surayan had, a passion that pushes me to enkindle it as well. If you wish to ask, go ahead. I want to know more about the trust you had in him, and what drove you to aid in his research despite the odds and possible conflicts of interest. You want to know why we trusted him? Not just that, but how you would push on despite his flaws. You wish to know how we kept our faith in him despite his mistakes. It is clear that you all had the same goal and wanted to aid each other in achieving it, but the people in the city would backstab, betray, and turn on each other when it is convenient for them. I want to know how you would keep that faith, suffering with his methods, even when you could have walked away at any moment. That faith that he truly was trying to release the light and not tricking you into some other plot. Roland, see how badly you affected our dear director with your little distortion? How many times do I have to apologize for that? Everyone in the city is different. Even if you have the same goal, there might be contention over the methods on how to achieve that result. I guess there has to be a compromise between everyone in order to work together for something. How much one is willing to compromise depends on the level of trust between everyone. You have to establish that trust with actions. Angela, what did Roland do for you to trust him as you do now? He protected me as I released the light, and even though I was opposed to it in the first place, he pulled me out before I disappeared along with it. And yet, even though he did something that you didn't agree with, you still trust him because of it. Trust is not just about counting on someone to be by your side. It's the only thing you can trust someone to do is to do what you said would have wanted. If the only thing you trust someone to do is to do what you would have wanted him to do, what you have is a minion, not a friend. Hold on, are you saying you can trust someone to go against you? Angela, consider our actions during the library's time in the city. We all had our reservations against you, did we not? You may not have seen the value in our opposition back then, but do you see now why we were going against you? You are too blinded by your desire for revenge to see around you, but as you argued with the patron librarians, you are forced to take a step back and look at your objective in a new light. Just as before, you could have simply met us submit to you, and you didn't lack the power to do so, but you hesitated. Perhaps without realizing it, you had become a modicum of trust in us. Of course, there's a limit to the amount of trust one can put on another. If we didn't act as ourselves, then there'd be no point to point out your mistakes. Then there'd be no one to point out your mistakes. I'm messing up bad. Okay. No one is infallible. Having different perspectives is what allows us to have a clearer view of the world around us. I understand your concern. Some people use trust with the intent to twist it and abuse it to fulfill their own desires. It is a dangerous storm navigating between the treacherous waves and the calm waters. That is why you need to keep the people you trust close to you. Finding that trust is difficult. Destroying it is easy. But with little actions here and there, showing your true selves to each other, you can establish a connection and understanding, and see whether it is a bond worth keeping. It's not just about the end goal, it's also about the little things they've done to prove they're trustworthy. For example, that cup of coffee on your desk is my way of trying to show my trust towards you, if you would accept it. The small actions aid to establish a trust with each other. Indeed, in spite of his actions, I still had faith in him. It was not the destination, nor was it one singular action that solidified my faith in him. It was a multitude of minor deeds that had made me loyal to not only his cause, but to him. I had faith that he still would do what I believed he would do. I see. A trust that is hard to establish, yet so easy to break. And yet it is essential if one is trying to bring about great change. It isn't easy. We all have had our share of betrayals and disappointments. But if we press on, then we can find the people with whom we can truly depend on. Roland, you mentioned that the city dwellers are very disconnected. Everyone would go on with their lives and not waste their time on pointless gestures. Everyone is busy trying to make do and live another day. All of their effort is exerted just trying to survive. Little is left to do anything else. I see. Thank you. This has given me much to think about. If you have any other questions, then you know where to find us. Oh, and there's always more coffee for you when you need it. Something on your mind? There's a limit to the trust one can give another. Then you also must let past some flaws if you wish to band together to achieve a common goal. I will need to take some time to not only look through these books, but also to go through what the three of them said. Going to take a sip? Maybe some other time. Alright. Yin Yang. Sorry, I was getting a drink. My throat is getting a bit sore. Let's see what we can do here. The distance is measured by a buff counter starting at 5. Your stamina decreases by 1. Oh, interesting. So I want to clash with that to try and raise the distance. Oh yeah, I also filled out page 1 deck here. I want to deal with that. Maybe use a bird cage? Let's try that. Well, we won it. Good job. We will want to flash with that. 10 to 16. That should do fine. Put a line there. I could actually maybe do that. Then I could pick one here, maybe. Try that. Their distance is very high right now. Try that. Okay, that's again dead. Try that. This is the easiest one so far. And there we go. Yin and Yang dead. That was the easiest one so far. Interesting. Customize Angela's appearance placeholder. Alright. Army in black. I can tell this is probably just going to be Mass Attack Central. Hey, we can shockwave. Actually, let's look at this. Into speed dives. Then use 2 heart-piercing bullets. Now I want to change to blunting stance. Try that. Oh, I should probably read. That seems like a good idea. Hey. Let's see what we can do here. Ignore flat die damage reduction is really annoying. Try that. Try that. Maybe a shyness for fight restoration. Use shyness. Hey, Army in Black dead? I can't tell if this is... I can't tell if I'm doing this right or not. Okay. I swear that was targeting my other character, but whatever. Okay, that looks good. Try that. And that's another army in black. Dead! Alright, this is taking forever. Uh-oh. Hey, one left. Oh, that's only for allies. Okay. Uh-oh. This is... Oh my god, I'm so mad. All of that time just to fail on the last part. Okay, well, I will see you back when I'm back to that point. Now, hey, right, I am back. Let's see if we can edge out this win. Try that. Try that. So far, so good. Try that. Oh my god, we are so close. Ew, holy crap, that was difficult. That took like 12 tries or something. That was bad. Let's see what we got. Interesting. That's actually insane. Customize Angela's appearance placeholder. Alright, and the next one. Oh, that's it. Okay. Last? The current last episode. Hey, we are finally done with getting the books. Thank you. If you could, please place them by this side. Sorry it took some time. We had to look through and sort out a lot of books from literature and philosophy, analyzing whether they would be relevant to psychology. Our dear Gabura was aiding in our efforts to process the required books after finishing with her own, even volunteering to bring the large tower you see here for her sake. That is just because it's better to get it done in one go instead of having you two walk back and forth multiple times. Still, with a free hand coming up here, this has allowed me to present an opening gift of the floor of psychology. This is black tea, isn't it? Didn't I make it clear that with this body I can no longer taste anything you guys conjure up? It would be shallow to think that the sense of taste is the only way to appreciate the multiple facades that go into a single cup of tea. I'm sure there are alternative methods that would allow you to appreciate the nuances contained within this cup, as you had before when your tongue had but a semblance of the human sense. I feel like I've heard that before. Right. Now that that is done, is there anything else you want from us? You have been asking questions to the rest. I would think you have some for us. Actually, I do, but I have yet to be able to find the right questions to ask. From what I would see, it seems like you are not plagued by one, but by a variety of questions. Come now, child, sit by the table and slowly relegate your questions one by one. The tea I prepared can be shared between us all. If you would all join me, take a seat around the table. I have the cups, just enough for all 5 of us. You knew this would happen, didn't you? Do not look so annoyed. Your aid in bringing the books up has allowed me to keep the utensils in pristine condition. Relax a bit, Gabura. You should rest up after helping with carrying our books up here. I got it. So, child, your eyes clearly display the presence of words that wish to be free. Allow us to work through the questions buzzing in your mind. Very well. I first would like to know about the people of the city, from your perspectives. Someone from the nest, someone from the back streets, and someone working for the head. I want to see just how people think in their old environment, under environment. Wow, that is not good English. Think in their old environment, under environment of the city. What I can provide is limited due to the fact that I have disconnected myself from my old associates in a very violent way. But I'm sure you would still want to hear what the incomplete chatter that comes out of this rambling amnesiac. Much like why I'm looking into the incomplete replica of the books, any information would be appreciated, even if it's not complete information. Still, the question is very vague. It would take weeks to get everything down. Do you have any specific directions as to where your questions will lead? I'm curious about why the residents would choose their way of life. I understand that most of the reasoning comes down to trying to live in the city, yet everyone has their own methods to go about it. Part of the Seed of Light is to give everyone the power to face the head, but as we have seen from the ensemble, not everyone who has their own take as to what they want the future to look like. You want to know how it is that people in the same city could come to so many different ways as to what they could use the light for? From my analysis, I doubt that a single ego user would be able to take on the head. It would take a united front to be able to change the city, despite the head's interference. But as demonstrated from our time in the city, whether ego or distortion, everyone still has their own, possibly conflicting goals. This isn't something that can be pushed aside for the common goal. Even if the head is toppled, what is stopping everyone from turning against each other? Is that the goal? Is that the expected result? I highly doubt it, but... Angela, you have given much thought to the workings of the human mind. The enigmatic workings that go on in the we call a human has made you pry into us, to read into the mind in a literal book. After having gone through so many of them, have you not ascertained something about the humans in the city? What is the one thing that jumped as your eyes surfed through the diction of each and every word coming straight from the minds of the people of the city? They have desires. Read one book and compare it to another. Look deep, even into their minor actions. Tell me, Angela, can they truly work together as one? Some of the people of the city do work together in the same office, but there is more to that question if you are asking it. I see. Even if they are in the same group, everyone must have a different approach to getting to that goal. A different perspective. A compromise must be made to get to the same goal. I understood that from our talk with Netzach, Hazed, and Hakma. But some things just cannot be compromised. You experience it yourself when you're going so headstrong and trying to become human and gaining your freedom. Everyone is doing something because of their desire, and some desires just cannot be given up. Sometimes it is the simplest thing, trying to live, but other times there are just some things a person would die for. To which comes the follow-up question. Was the wish for freedom and being human actually wrong? Don't tempt our director into doing something again. No, I'm seeing what Bina is saying. The desire by itself was inherently not wrong. It was my methods that was causing issues. If there were another, much more lenient option to gain what I desired. Indeed, the previous methods were a bit too much, but if there was a better way to make everyone happy... But there isn't a way. That was the whole point, wasn't it? There are many methods to approach a goal. Can we continue our possibly fruitless search and find a new way to achieve our goals? Or is it better to leave that dream behind, focusing your mind onto other goals? To sacrifice your morality, if any has been left, to achieve your goal, no matter the cost, is also one of the many ways to approach a given problem. Everyone has their own past. They have learned their own methods to dealing with problems. Was your initial choices not influenced by your own past, Angela? I cannot doubt that his methods influenced my own. While that explains why everyone might have a different view as to how to use the light, isn't the chaos from such differences something you wish to avoid? I'm not sure as to the entire scope of the plan, but I think the chaos is the point. When something new appears upon the world, it is unclear whether each approach is right or wrong. We have the luxury of looking back at history and the stories of others to take the best course of action. But to the characters of these stories, such an option was not present. They had to guess and stumble, going forward to an unknown future. With nothing to go from, everyone could only pick a path and hope for the best. The bravery to face the uncertain future, forged by their own actions. And with all that is put forth, the one that is most effective will make it out on top. Sounds like the way the city works in the end. Will this new power be spread, to be shared, and to provide a future different from the present? Or will the cycle of the city consume them nonetheless, leading them to become the very thing they were supposed to prevent? We cannot predict the outcome of something that has not graced our world before, but only observe and react to how such a thing would influence the world as it occurs. But the light gave the denizens of the city something that was never there before, a chance to change. No, the chaos is not inherently wrong either, but considering how it might perpetuate the cycle, I can see that conflict in your eyes. It shares the similarities to a young naive fixer who just joined the office. The eyes of one that is focused in the ideal outcome rather than the realistic. Right, those eyes. We would call them fools, going into the business, hoping to not raise their weapons and be able to talk it out. But even in intelligence and negotiation-focused offices, you have to at least have some combat experience and be willing to fight. Unless you can afford to have another office as your bodyguards, death would come swiftly. It is not that you're trying to pick a fight, though the fact that sooner or later you will be holding something quite valuable to the client. It would do you good to be able to protect yourself. I would think that is due to the city, which is why such skill sets are needed. If there is a way for everyone to be able to sit down and negotiate, a mindless beast would use violence to gain what they want as well. Would you lay down in peace while their claws are mauling you? There's no good way to say it. I'm not good at expressing this, but sometimes caution works. Sometimes you need to crush them into dust. There are all kinds of jobs in the city. It is wise to face some of them with your blade lowered, using words to possibly avoid lethal conflict that might destroy more than you bargained for. Sometimes you need to strike first before the opposite side does. Ensure they are not liabilities that would make things worse in the future. There's value in both the peaceful and the violent. One cannot be blinded advocating either side that they cannot see the simpler solution. You need to be able to identify when to use what techniques. If you mess up, you find yourself in dire straits. A balance between words and weapons. A balance. There can be no shadow without light, much like how light would be meaningless with no shadow. To have to navigate the world with the brightness varying as you take your steps is disorienting, confusing at times, but it's not worth to be able to walk knowing that what you see in front of you is real and not some mirage of your own making. It is tempting to hide in the mirage of your own creation, to live in a world that is twisted for your own desires, but there's a majesty in being able to see and appreciate what is real. The conflict is part of the process. As we put these different viewpoints of thinking to the test, we are able to record what works and what does not. That bit of chaos, that was the point of the seed of light, yet also not too much. Thus the temperance that he tried to impose with the enlightenment. Yet one must also know when to compromise and when to work together for the sake of the greater good. Giving up one's own desire is tough, to some impossible. It is not inherently wrong for someone to want something. With such opposing desires, conflict was inevitable from the very start. One could say it was part of the plan. And one cannot be so blinded as to how they want things to work that they cannot do what is effective, but yet to still be able to strive for it. This gives me a lot to think about. Thank you. The tea has been lovely, especially with more company. I do hope that such discussions would occur more frequently, now that our workload has subsided. If you need anything else, you're available to talk at any time. Even as my current questions are answered, more pop up. The chaos after achieving the seed of light. It does seem like the point is to carry that chaos, then instead of the certain pain the city imposed on the world. Did they have faith in the people of the city to do what they wanted to happen? Or did they plan for a chaos they themselves did not predict, precisely because the outcome could not be predicted? Sounds like a mystery that we can never figure out, considering they're not with us anymore. Maybe I should leave these questions be and focus on what I can actually find. There are other avenues to look into, but I have to prepare and ensure it works properly. You will consult us about what you want to do before you do that, right? Do not worry, I won't be reckless. Hey, right. And I think that will do it for today's episode. If you made it this far, thank you for watching, and I'll be with you next time when we continue with more Haunted Library of Ruina. Until then, bye!